All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Gavin Sequeira, who is an entrepreneur and helps people find a way to break out of the rat race. Gavin, how you doing?
Hey, thanks, Timmy. Great to be with you.
Yeah, great to have you. And we like to jump right in. So if you could start
Cool.
with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm just like everyone else. I studied hard at school, went to college, got a couple of degrees. I went straight into the corporate world, and I thought, this is it. I've got it made. I love this. I got a good job, a great team. I was fortunate enough, Tim, to travel around the world with my job. I worked for companies like IBM, Oracle, big tech companies. And I did that for almost 10 years. And towards the end of it, I started getting a little bit disillusioned with the whole rat race, the corporate, kind of prison, if you like. And I questioned myself, am I on the right track? Am I doing what I was really meant to be doing? Is there more to life than this? I saw my bosses and, their bosses, and I thought, I don't want to be these guys. They're struggling with life. They're not seeing their kids. They're not, some of them have been divorced 2 or 3 times, heart issues, all that kind of stuff. And I really needed to make a change. And so I really got out of it. I went and forged my own path and got into a few different businesses, made some mistakes, right? But at the end of the day, I learned from it. And what I do today is I help people kind of navigate that path with as minimal, hiccups as possible. So there are things you can do. There are things you can plan for that'll help you to do it more smoothly than I did. What I like to do for fun, man, I just love life. I like being outdoors. I play sport. I'm into my tennis and I do karate. I like being fit, but I like talking to people. I like connecting with people like yourself, all around the world. This is what I do for fun. So
Yeah, gotcha. So a big sports guy. Have you always been into sports, or did that start up at some point in
yeah.
adulthood? Or
No. I'm a self-confessed kind of sports fanatic. I played all kinds of sports, even when I was a little kid. But I just love it because one, it's a team thing. I like the individual sport because it's competitive, but I just like trying to do something and get better at it. And it's great to get out of the house. It's easy to get stuck in and get stuck on the couch watching Netflix or reading a book, or and those things are good. You need time to do stuff like that. But I like getting up. I like traveling. I just like getting out and meeting people and doing things.
there we go. I love it. Well, awesome, man. Tell us a little bit more about your motivation in life. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Look, I see a lot of people, Timmy, that are just, they're going through the motions. They're really stuck where they're at. Especially what's happened in the last couple of years, with the whole pandemic and lockdown and all that kind of stuff that we went through. People were just kind of put in a cage. They were, told you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go here. And I kind of want to help people see that there is a better path forward. You might have been doing a job or a career for a number of years, and you're not happy with it, and maybe the industry's changed. Maybe things have kind of moved around, and suddenly you're questioning, hey, do I really want to be doing this for the next 5, 10, 20 years? Or maybe you're contemplating going into a new industry and you're like, is that really the right thing for me long term? Where I come from is I get people to question themselves, find out what your values are. What do you want to achieve in life? Like, what makes you happy? We're here on this planet for such a short time. If you can find something that you enjoy doing, even if you do it part-time, do it. Find a way to get it done, because it'll make your whole life so much better. So even if you got this crummy job that you're doing and you hate, but you can't quit, do something fun on the side to kind of perk yourself up, give yourself some energy. So that's what I do. I find that actually quite energizing. So even talking to yourself and talking about topics like this around mindset, about values, about goal setting, strategy, these are important things that we as human beings don't spend a lot of time talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm right there with you. As
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious with the name of my podcast.
100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love to help people live the dream. I get energized through the same things, asking
Yeah.
questions that challenge people, and with the goal of like opening their eyes a little bit to what's possible.
Yeah.
So I love that that's what you're about, man. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your dreams and goals. Tell us about
Okay.
vision for your business and vision for your life.
Look, vision for my business has always been to empower as many people as I can. I don't put a number on it. A lot of people go, I want to impact like tens of thousands or 1 million people. Or, I did have numbers like that. At the end of the day, this is the truth. If I can impact one person at a time and make a difference in their life, either through a book that I've written, and I do have books, I have podcasts, I have webinars, I've got all of these different avenues people can get information, or they can talk to me or my team, then I feel like I'm moving forward towards achieving my dream. My dream is really to make other people's lives easier. I've kind of got what I need, and I'm happy with where I'm at in life. And now it's my way of kind of doing what I feel I was meant to do, you see, and helping the people in my community and my family. So for me, that's my dream, to keep doing that and doing better at it each day. In terms of goals, man, I want to live to over 100. I want to see where mankind will go in the next 50 years. I'm excited. Just if you look, I saw this thing the other day. 20 years ago, we didn't have, mobile phones. We didn't have a way to communicate like we are right now. This would have been a dream for someone.
Yeah.
Right. Can you imagine what the next 20 years is going to, forget about 100 or 1,000 years, just the next 20 years. It's so exciting. And I think what we're doing now is we are breaking ground. Podcasts right now are reaching more people, I believe, than even videos, people, or even, books. And so getting messages out there can impact lives. And that's what I'm all about right now, getting the message out there.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I love the excitement you have for the future, and the fact that you recognize, so I'm 23, so 20 years ago, I didn't really know what was around, but
20 years ago, man, a little over 20 years ago, you were a dream and someone else.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I love the goal to live until you're over 100 and empowering as many people as you can along the way.
Yeah.
I want you to take us through what somebody who is either consuming your content or working with you directly, kind of what their day-to-day looks like, and where specifically do you challenge them, and how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so the average person I talk to is a busy individual. They're working in their 9 to 5. They've got kids, they got families. These people are just, they're head down, busy, and they're doing stuff. And then they come across some of my information. Some of them may go, hey, this is not for me. But then there's others that go, wow, I wish I came across this like 10 years ago. And we'll get on the phone, or we'll get on a Zoom call, or we'll start writing to each other. And then I'll go, hey, Timmy, tell me what's going on in your life, and they'll tell me, look, I've been doing this. I'm kind of heading down this path. I don't like where it's going. I want to make some changes. What do I need to do? Where do I start? So I get them on a process of self-discovery, learning a little bit about themselves and what they have to contribute to humanity or to their life. And then finding out where their skills are at. What else can they do? Maybe they're an accountant, maybe they're a HR person, maybe they're an engineer, or I've got teachers. We work with all kinds of people, but that's just a job. That's just something that you do during the day. But your life is so much bigger than that. And so I challenge people to think about stuff like that. We do little goals and exercises. We do vision boards. I don't know if you've ever done a vision board or a dream board, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We do it as kids, we do cut and paste, and we stick it up on a board, and we laugh and we joke, but we don't do it as adults. And so I challenge people as adults, hey, what would you like to achieve in the next 5 or 10 years? Put it up there on that board. It could, call it a bucket list, call it a dream board, call it whatever you want. But then from there, let's then work out some strategic goals backwards. So if this was your 3 to 5 year vision and you can visualize it, then where do you want to be in 12 months time? And then what do you need to do in the next 90 days, in the next 3 months, every day, every week, a little bit to help you achieving that goal. So we put a plan in place. So it's not kind of a dream that one day this will magically happen. You're taking steps every day to get to that dream. Does that make sense? You got to make that dream come true. It's not just going to happen. You got to put yourself in the right place. You got to talk to the right people. You got to read the right information. You got to take action. And I think if you do all of these steps and you have someone to guide you, hey man, dreams really can come true. They really can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am right there with you. And I love how you have people get to the point where they get to know themselves a bit more right at the start.
It's fascinating.
I guess my question to you is, At what point did you know yourself?
Oh, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I didn't, because when I was in the corporate world, I was so in my lane, right? And that's all I knew of the world. People outside, even my own family, didn't know what I did at work. They were like, "What do you do for work?" And I'm like, I tried to explain this long title that I had. It made no sense to them. And they're like, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you're doing well." But you take that away from you, you strip that title away or take that big brand company away from you. And who are you? Who are you as a person? And you might have been on this planet for 23 years, 33 years, or 40 or 50 years. But who are you? And a lot of people lose their identity when you take the job away from them, or you take their family away from them. They may be caring for their kids. You take the kids away. Who are they as human beings? A lot of people don't associate anything with themselves, and it's sad because we're all gifted creatures. We all have something to offer, right? And so I get people to just do this self-discovery phase. Ask yourself, what do you like to do? What are your values? What's important to you? And if you could do something outside of your job, what would it be? Forget about the money, forget about all of these things that would hold you back. What would you like to be doing? And you'd be amazed when people start going through this process, Timmy. They come up with all kinds of stuff, and then they go, you know what? If only I could, if I had a bit more time, I would do this. And so then we start working on a plan, right?
Yeah. No, I love that so many people are out here like doing this and helping people do this. Like you're out here, I'm out here. There are plenty of other people who are just like, we have other people's best interest in mind, because I don't know about you personally, which I think we're about to get into this next, but like I realized how much it absolutely sucked to not know yourself and to kind of be living like a drone. And I hate when people have to do that.
100%. I mean, there are movies out like The Matrix, and if you've watched that, we're all kind of like drones. We go to work, we come home, we do the same thing day in, day out. We're programmed to be like sheep. They put us through the system, through school, through college, through university, through, then you start working. You're working for who are you working for? Sometimes you never get to meet the boss. And you're working for these big corporations, and someone else is getting rich, and we're just living out our life. We're like worker bees. Bees just kind of make honey. They just work, and that's what they do. But we can all be that special queen bee. Like we all have that innate kind of ability to take charge of our own life. We don't have to be programmed forever. We can program ourselves. And so I think the minute you can at least spend some time on this, you will question everything. You'll question certain beliefs that you have. You'll question, you might even question your religion. I don't know. You might question things you were taught or brought up with, certain sayings, right? You might be someone who challenges your parents in a good way, right? Or you might be someone that kind of challenge people that are older than you, and might be doing certain things a certain way, and you might go, you know what? I'm going to do things a bit differently because I just think different now, and I think that's a good thing. That's where innovation comes in, because you got to have original thought. If you stay the same as everyone around you, so there's a saying: if you kind of hang out with the 5 closest people around you, you're going to be the average of those 5 people, right?
Yep.
And so if you're happy with that, that's cool. If you want to be better than average, guess what? You got to find a whole new group of friends. You can still keep your friends, but you need to find a whole new group of friends to take you up to the next level. And I think when you do that, you learn more. When you learn more, you get more inspired, more motivated. You can contribute, you can teach, you can just shape the world a bit better. So that's where I encourage people to go down that path. Not everyone's cut out for it. I enjoy it. For some people, it's too much. But I say, hey, if you've got it in you, make someone's life a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. So, Gavin, why don't you tell us about, you ran into some issues when you were first getting into the entrepreneurial space. Tell us about some of that adversity and how you pushed through it, both on a mindset level and on an action level.
Yeah, totally, man. Like when I first got started, I was frustrated with my corporate life, where it had got me. I made money, I bought the house, I did all these things, and I thought, hey, I've achieved success. But have I? Because I was in debt, I wasn't happy, I was a bit overweight, I was, I'm kind of like, my life isn't that great, really. And now I want to get out of this work situation. I've got to find something else to do. So I just jumped into kind of business opportunities, left, right, and center. I did a lot of different things, and I didn't have anyone to guide me. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. I really didn't have any friends that were in business. So I didn't know who to talk to, right? And
Yep.
just to show my age, I got out of the corporate world 15 years ago. So you would have been a kid, but I was 15 years ago, I was like 30, right? And so, and at that time, it's not quite a midlife crisis, but I'm like, man, what have I done with my life? Now I'm about to turn it upside down. This is crazy. And everyone around me was like, just go back to work, get a job. Writing this book is crazy. What are you doing? You've got a degree and you've done so well. Why would you jeopardize what you built? And so I was talking to a lot of the wrong people for advice. That was one mistake I made.
Yep.
When I got into business, I wasn't very good at managing my money, my cash flow. See, when you work for someone else, Timmy, you're so used to them paying you a check that you just get this check every week or every fortnight or every month, and you just know it's going to come in and you kind of bank on it. You get complacent. When you get into business, that check doesn't come in every month. Sometimes it doesn't come in at all. And I found that really challenging because I'd never experienced that before. And so, I would spend money and then I have too much month left and not enough money, and I'm kind of like, wait, this is all backwards. I got to figure out a better plan. So I had to get smarter in how I did things. That was one challenge, managing cash flow, right? Another challenge I faced was, just making decisions. When I was in corporate, when I was working for someone else in a big company, I had an IT department, I had, finance guys, I had salespeople, I had all these different resources around me. When I got into my own business, it was all me. I was the marketing guy, I was a sales guy, I was a product guy, I was my boss, and I was my employee. And guess what? How they say sometimes you hate your boss. I hated being my boss, and I couldn't even fire myself because it was just me. So I was stuck, right? And that was something I had to get over. It was challenging, and I had to kind of, figure out a way to do it smarter and not work harder. And so that's where I really got into getting good coaches, good mentors, doing a lot of reading, a lot of personal development. Did Tony Robbins, for example, walked on fire and just worked on my mindset, grew as a person, and just was solution oriented. So wherever I hit a roadblock, I'm like, how do I get around this?
Yeah.
So that's kind of I made a lot of mistakes. I had to learn how to get better each time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. And I love the dive into it, take action, take messy action, fail, learn from the failure, go into the personal development. But it's not all pretty, but it creates a real pretty picture on the other side of it.
Well, they say an action creates a reaction. So if you take that first step, you are one step closer to wherever you're wanting to go, right? Now, if you didn't take that step, that goal is always going to be out there. You take one step forward, by default, you are one step closer to that goal. So a little bit of action each day really makes a difference. Even if you don't feel like it, do something to move you one step closer. Make that one extra phone call, send that one email, write that one message, do a little bit of research for that one article you were going to write about or something. Do something that's going to move you forward. Don't let the days slip by and do nothing, because you never get back time. Money you can make. Money you can lose as well. Time you can only lose. You cannot make time back. So, if you lose that time, you kind of wasted an opportunity. But the great thing, Tim, is if you every day, regardless of where you live, who you are, what you look like, what you do, how old you are, we all get given 24 hours. So even if you really messed up yesterday, right? You wasted yesterday. You got another day to do it all over again. Here's another 24 hours, Tim. What are you going to do with it? Right? Yeah. And you get a chance to redo it all over. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, right? But you can get better and better each day.
Love it. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Well, awesome. Gavin, if there were one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards your dreams and goals, who would they be and how would they help you out?
Oh man, there are so many people I would love to meet, but I mean, I probably want to meet, people that had significant influence on humanity, and I'd probably look at people like Gandhi or people like Mandela, or like I'm talking, significant political figures, but they were also humanitarian people, and these people never sought out fame or power or money. In fact, they actually lived pretty average, poor, relatively poorer lives, but they were rich in the impact they had on the world. And what I loved about it is they were able to connect with people all across the world, regardless of race, regardless of where you live or what you did, and their messages were so profound. Now, I may not have as profound a message as them, but I would love to tap into their brain and go, what did you do to connect with people better? How did you do it? And they did it with humility. They did it with grace. And these are things I can definitely, get better at, right? So, maybe people like that.
Okay. So people who have had significant influence on humanity. Can you think of any specific people who you would want to meet like right now that are living that could help you tick the needle forward in your humility, grace, connecting with people across the board?
Well, I was thinking of someone, but he doesn't have a lot of humility and grace. He's actually quite a flamboyant character. Someone like Richard Branson.
Yep.
And the reason I pick him is, he's just a fun character. He enjoys his life. And if you ever followed any of his posts, he's doing stuff. He's out there. He's in his 70s. He's having fun. He's living life to the fullest. And he's not someone who was gifted academically. When he was in school, he was told he was dyslexic. He would never be any good. He wouldn't amount to anything. But he just saw the world differently. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. Someone else I'd love to kind of just hang out with for a day might be someone like Elon Musk. And now he, again, doesn't have a lot of humility, but he's someone who's a creator. He's ingenious. He does things to kind of change the world. He's wants to take humanity to Mars. He's building SpaceX and all that kind of stuff, Tesla. And so he's one of those people who is not just doing things to make money. He's doing things to kind of change humanity. And these kind of people really inspire me. It's not so much who they are, but it's what they're doing and the impact that they're doing. And if I can pick those couple of good qualities from them, I'd love to spend a day with them.
Gotcha. There we go. Richard Branson, Elon Musk. Awesome. Well, now we're going to jump into our Thriving Three. And the first question is favorite book, movie, or podcast. Pick one.
Favorite book, I have to say, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Classic.
I read that honestly when I was 29. So I wish I read that as a teenager because it was around, and it really impacted my life, Timmy. So the reason it impacted my life, it got me to think of where I was and what I was doing, and I was following the poor dad kind of methodology. If you've ever read this book, and there was another way of thinking, which was the rich dad, and it's not about money and power and all of that. It's about just thinking differently, right? And not doing what everyone else is doing, staying away from the 95% and doing what the 5% do differently. And so that just changed everything in how I am. So that'd be one of my favorite books. I would highly recommend.
There we go. Yeah, I need to give it a reread because I read it a couple years back, but I've heard like there's always something in it that kind of hits different as you grow.
I'll tell you another one. It's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Right? Robin Sharma. And if you read that book, what that'll teach you is people who have kind of got on this career path and maybe made a lot of money and accumulated a lot of wealth and possessions and all that. At the end of the day, what does it mean to you and how happy are you in your life? And it's a really awesome story. If you don't like reading, there's an audiobook version of it. I think it's even free on YouTube and things like that, where you can learn about how you can get rid of a lot of possessions around you and still be really happy and still make a huge contribution. So don't get caught up in me and building all this stuff because, well, you can't take it with you. And so, a lot of billionaires like Bill Gates and Richard Branson, all these kind of guys, a lot of them are pledging their fortunes away to charities. You couldn't even leave all that money to your kids if you wanted to. There's that much wealth in the world that should be distributed back. And so a lot of people are doing that. That's a great book if you ever get a chance to read it.
Yeah, I'll have to add it to my list for sure.
Yeah.
And what is one way you like to take care of yourself?
Like I said, I like just being active. I'd like to say I eat healthy, but not always, but I like getting out there, and I like being out there in the outdoors. I like traveling. I like playing sport. It keeps me active. It keeps me kind of energized. I do karate a few times a week, and that's great for my mental strength as well, because it's all discipline. And so these are things it's part of my life. I love gardening. That's crazy, I know, but I like getting in there, and I like messing it up and then fixing it and, doing stuff like that. So for me, it's just being out there in nature a little bit. I don't like being stuck in a room or stuck behind a desk or stuck with my headsets on all day. I love what we're doing now, but I wouldn't do it all day. I have to mix it up with other things outside. So that's what I do.
For sure. I love it. And what is one action step that you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet either Richard Branson or Elon Musk?
I think if I get on, enough podcast and, maybe through my reach and socials and interactions, I might come across someone who might say, hey, you know what? We work for the Branson organization. We'd love to interview you for this, or that's a dream, right? But maybe, again, sometimes you never know. I have friends of mine who have written a lot of blogs, done a lot of posts and all that, and someone in their influencer group has contacted them and got in touch, and suddenly they're talking to people they would never dream of talking to. So it might not be Richard Branson, but it might be someone, pretty significant. And I just think if we keep doing what we're doing, someone will take notice and go, hey, I like that Timmy guy. I love his he's on fire. I'm going to talk to that guy. To be honest, that's how I think that's why we're here, right? Podmatch kind of matched us, but I still checked out your profile. I'm like, I like what he's doing. I like the title of his message. I like what he's doing, and you've checked me out, and that's how we're connected. And who knows, maybe someone we know might get connected through this. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Absolutely, I love it. Well, I got one last question for you, and it's going to require a bit of an explanation. It's actually like a series of questions. I've changed it recently.
Okay.
So I've been asking a question on the podcast, and a lot of people have been saying that the catalyst that helps people change from having a fixed mindset, not willing to accept help and not willing to accept change, to having a growth mindset, willing to accept help and willing to accept change, the catalyst for that is a personal choice that happens after either inspiration or desperation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the common answer. First, do you agree with that? Do you want to add to that? Thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think really without either of those two extremes, so you're either really inspired to make a change, or you have reached the point of no return. You've reached this you're at the end of your kind of rope, right? And you're like, I need to do something different, or it's downhill. And so if you're not at either one of those ends, you're right down the middle. You will just toe the line. You will stick with the 95%. We're programmed this way, Timmy. It's just the way that we are as human beings. We will follow the herd. We will protect our family. We will do as we're told. We will not speak up. We will not rock the boat. But when you're at the, if there's a storm out there and you have to put that sail up, or the whole ship's going to go down, or like you're at this point where you have to do something different. You need to step up, or you're going to drown. You'll either step up or you'll drown. One of the two will happen. The other thing is, you might be sitting at home reading a book about how someone did step out and do something amazing, and you'll go, that is brilliant. I wish I could be that kind of person. And you get inspired. That could be a catalyst for change too.
Yeah.
But if you're not either reading or listening or talking to someone and getting inspired, and you're not the one taking that action, there's nothing pulling you in either direction. So you're going to toe the line. So I completely agree with that sentiment. You need to have one or the other, without which a lot of change is just not going to happen
Yeah,
for you. Yeah.
for sure. I completely agree. Well,
Yeah.
why do you think some people given the extremes, so they're at these extremes, some people make the choice to change and others don't? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think so. It's a really interesting one. I ask this question all the time of people. If you could have everything you wanted on a silver platter, would you take it? Or put it this way, if I said to you, hey, Timmy, would you literally swap your life right now for, let's say Richard Branson, okay? We're talking about him. If you could be Richard Branson and he could be you, would you swap your life right now? You take on all of his fame, his money, his riches, everything he's ever done, but you lose everything that you have. You cannot be yourself and him. It's one or the other. Would you do it? And a lot of people will go, no, I won't. I wouldn't do it. I love my family. I love my life. My friends. You know what? I'm just going to be who I am, and that's okay. So sometimes people aspire for something. They see, hey, if only I could, and then something brings them back down, and that's human. It's a human nature, right? So the inspiration is not enough. It's a catalyst. The desperation as well on the other end is not enough. It's a catalyst. The want must be great. Like you must want to make that change. It's like, here you go. I talk to people who say to me all the time, oh, I cannot wait to get out of corporate. I want to start my own business. I want to change my life. I'm like, all right, here's a plan. Here's what we do step by step. You get involved, you get started, we do this, blah, blah, blah. Here's how much time you need to put in. Here's what it's going to cost you, etc. And then people are like, I need to think about this. I'm not sure if this is for me. I'm like, hang on a second. 10 minutes ago, you wanted this badly. Like you were like, I'll do anything it takes. And now when I put it in front of you, they're like, actually, it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like, you know what, I've got this trip planned. I've got this thing happening, and the excuses come up. So to your point, you could be on one of these two extremes, but it comes down to how badly you want it. And some people will reach for it and some people won't. And that's okay. You just got to figure out who you are.
There we go. There we go. And some people need a kind of small amount of desperation or inspiration to change, and others need a larger, more consistent amount. What do you think accounts for that difference in need?
I just think it's whatever your breaking point is. So some people are really fragile and it doesn't take a lot to push them. And then there's some people who are like skeptical, or they're just really hard on their position and they're not willing to change. Their mindset is so fixed that, just reading one book isn't going to do it for them. Talking to one person isn't going to do it for them. They need to hear that message over and over and over again till it slowly sinks in and they go, you know what? Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Now I'm still going to hold out, but they keep hearing it. They keep seeing other people do it. They see their friends doing it. They see people like you doing it, Timmy. They see, and they're like, all right, time to give it a go. Some people are like, you know what? That sounds great. I'm going to do it right now. But everyone's different. So it just depends where your kind of threshold is and where your breaking point is. And if you're one of those people that are quick to do things, I think it won't take a lot. But if you're one of those people that need a lot of time to process information and make decisions and all of that, it'll take more effort.
Gotcha. What do you think establishes that breaking point, and can it be influenced?
I think it can be influenced. I think, sometimes something quite dramatic might need to happen to shift your whole mindset. And I'll give you an example of things that have happened in recent times. So, when we had the COVID disruption, the whole hospitality industry got turned on its head. It actually got shut down, right? And especially where I live, we had restaurants, cafes closed. We had airlines grounded. So if you were a pilot and you'd been flying for 20 years, you didn't have a job. Now you might have said, I'm only ever going to be a pilot because I'm really good at that. And I found there were people I know that had in the aviation industry that sat without a job for months. Mm-hmm. I also know people who, the minute they lost their job, they were driving a truck. They were doing grocery deliveries. They just did whatever they had to move on. So some people were stuck where they are and they're like, I'm just going to wait till this thing, I'll ride it out and get my next aviation kind of job or hospitality job. And I know people who went on and did other things. They created stuff. They got into different industries. I had people who lost retail jobs and they went into an online sort of situation, or they did something different. And then there's others who just went, you know what, I'm just going to wait till I get my job back. I mean, so I think if sometimes a major disruption will happen and it'll push people one way, but again, everyone has their own time frame, and there's some people, honestly, who are just, they're just too much in their comfort zone. And unless they're pushed out of their comfort zone, they're not going to take that next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Now it's for real. One last question.
Okay.
In Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 4 laws of changing your behavior. And the laws are to make it obvious, to make it attractive, to make it easy, and to make it satisfying. With that context in mind, how can we create an environment that accelerates getting people the right amount of inspiration or desperation and facilitates them making that choice to change their life?
I'm not familiar with those laws, but they sound pretty awesome. And it almost sounds like a recipe for success, because if you could have a little bit of each of those, you can do anything, right? But like anything, a recipe has lots of ingredients. So you have these 4 different laws. I'd even throw in the law of attraction right in there. And so it's going to be everyone's going to have their different mix of what they need from those 4 laws. Some might need a lot of this and a lot of this, and some might need a little bit of that. And so you got to figure out what's right for you. And I say, look, if I'm talking to a brand new person, I don't know what they need. So I've got to learn to ask better questions and then put information in front of you. So if you're not a reader, there's no point in me saying, hey, read this book, because you're never going to read it, right? But if I can put information in lots of formats that you can digest and go, hey, if it's not the book, maybe it's a podcast. If it's not a podcast, it could be a YouTube video. It could be, maybe you need to turn up to this live event or whatever it might be, to kind of get that information in, figure out from that law, what do you need, and figure out your recipe for success, because only you can figure out your recipe. No one else can. All you and I can do is put information out there. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we play a part in kind of facilitating it, but I think each person's got to take responsibility of kind of taking the ingredients and putting it together for themselves and making it work.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The ask better questions, listen, put information in front of them. But then again, it all comes down to that personal choice. We can't change people.
Yeah, 100%. And the day we accept that we can't change people, we can't even manage people. All we can do is help people, influence, motivate, inspire. That's all we can do. And so we put the right information in there. We facilitate change. It's really up to them. It's up to human beings to come and say, hey, I want this, I don't want this. And like one of my mentors a long time ago said, do the best you can, but work with the willing. Work with the people who want to work with you. Some people are never going to want to work with you. They're never going to buy your message. They're not interested. You know what? You wish them well, and you move on to the people who want your help, because there are a lot of people out there. So let's try and help them. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, there we go. Gavin, is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
Man, I love what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. I think keep it up. And if anyone listening to this is remotely inspired or kind of has reached the point where they're kind of questioning where they're at in life and where the next step in the journey is, and I've got a gift that I'd like to offer your audience. It's an ebook. It's something I wrote. I actually wrote this about 3 years ago. It's at almost 400,000 downloads. It doesn't mean I've spoken to that many people. It just means that many people have downloaded it, and it must have made some difference to them. It's called the 8 Bulletproof Ways to Escape Your 9-to-5 Without Risking Your Income. How do you do it? What are the steps? What's the strategies that we recommend that will help you do it in a safe manner without putting anything at risk? So you don't have to quit your job, you don't have to sell the house, you don't have to do anything crazy, but how do you get that change started, right? And if you want that, I'm happy to give you the link, and people can go and download that. It's a little PDF, take you about 15 minutes to read it, and I really truly believe it will set you on the right path to make some change happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. That link will be down in the show notes. So yeah, Gavin, thank you for coming on.
Hey man, my pleasure. Keep up the great work you're doing, Timmy.
Yeah, no, of course we'll do. And if you guys loved what Gavin had to say, make sure to hit that link, get that ebook, read it, and then follow up with him and get some accountability in your life, because I'm sure that will be an important aspect of moving forward. As we always ask, shoot this podcast to 1 to 3 people you know need to hear this message. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.